Hey everyone, my name is Jessica. I'm here to share my journey of pregnancy and kind of after pregnancy. So I think I have a pretty unique situation. I had a daughter that was 2 months premature and a little bit of weird things happening. And so I just wanted to share that with other people to try to teach, what I learned and just kind of share my experience. So here we go. I'm sorry if I'm awkward. I am not used to making videos like this, but I think that if it helps somebody, who cares if I look like a hot mess and I'm a little bit awkward and say a lot. So here we go. So before I get started, I just wanted to preface, I am not a medical professional whatsoever, so anything that I say in here, just, if you have questions or concerns or anything, please go see your doctor. Or your baby's doctor or pediatrician or whatever. Please do not take this as Bible, this is just a video because, I just want to get that information out there to try to help other people. And if this gets one view, I don't care, because if that one person gets something out of it, then awesome. All right, so let's dive right in. So my pregnancies kind of started out a little bit rocky. So a couple weeks into it, I think I was about 6 to 7 weeks-ish. So I had already scheduled my appointment at my OB, thought everything was normal, and then just this one thing happened. So I started spotting a little bit, and I had this kind of really weird discharge. I even took pictures of it to show my doctor. I'm not going to show you guys because it was kind of gross, but anyways, it was just, sorry, message coming through. So anyways, I just had this weird spotting and discharge. And so, just side note, Tanner, not his fault at all. We just have really bad timing with things like this. Or really good timing, I'm not sure. So Tanner was at a bachelor party, and so I was here by myself. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I was super scared. I thought I was having a miscarriage. So anyways, we hadn't told anybody that we were pregnant by then. And so, just as a surprise to people, I called my grandma, I called my mom, just to kind of let them know what was going on. And, then I ended up calling my mother-in-law. So she luckily lived only about half a mile away or so. So I called her and I was like, of course, an emotional wreck. I was like, hey, I think I'm having a miscarriage. Can you take me to the hospital? So anyway, she drives over here. I'm just dead silent in the car. I'm getting emotional right now, but so dead silent in the car. We get to the ER, check in and everything, tell them what's going on. And then I start getting all these tests done. When you get to the ER, you get your IV in just to make sure that, or whatever that thing, irrigation thing, I can't remember what it's called, but you get the thing in your hand that they can hook up to an IV very quickly in case something happens. So anyways, we're at the ER, I'm doing these tests, swabs, in places that you don't want to talk about. And then we get an ultrasound, and so, and they won't tell you anything. This ultrasound in the ER is completely silent. You don't, nothing is happening. The tech can't tell you anything because, of course, if there's something wrong, they're not going to be the ones to tell you what's wrong. And so, after that whole thing, didn't know if there was a heartbeat, didn't know what was going on. And so, after that, we just kind of sat in the waiting room and we waited for my name to be called. And then, we go into this room where there's a doctor, and she's telling me, kind of what's going on, what the test results were. And luckily, there was a strong heartbeat, which was amazing. Just a little bit of bad news, and it wasn't even that bad. It was just kind of the reason why all of that stuff was happening. So what they had said is that there was something called a subchorionic hematoma. And so that's bleeding between the wall of the uterus and one of the sacs. And so that can sometimes cause bleeding in a pregnancy at the very beginning. And so it just increases your chance of miscarriage within the first 20 weeks. But most of the time, they told me that it goes away on its own. And so it really wasn't anything to worry about. So that was pretty crazy at the beginning. And of course, we told everybody. And so it wasn't really a big surprise to anybody in our family. because we had to tell them that I thought I was having miscarriage, and it was like, surprise, no, we're not, we're actually pregnant. So we bought like t-shirts and like cups and stuff for the grandparents, and all of that was blown up, which, I mean, in Jessica and Tanner fashion, that makes sense. So after that, my pregnancy was pretty normal. I had terrible morning sickness, but that was kind of par for the course with the women in my family. Like, my mom was so sick, my sister's so sick, so I wasn't surprised that I had morning sickness. Side note, I had something called, what was it called? I can't remember what it was, but if I remember, I will mention it. But it was a morning sickness medication that just helped so much. Anyways, so in December, so I was, what, 6-ish months pregnant, so about halfway there. Maybe a little bit more than that, almost 7 months pregnant. So anyways, December, I had my glucose test appointment, and I just had it with a nurse. I didn't have it with my doctor because it was just going to be a cut and dry appointment. Like, you go, you drink the drink, you get your blood drawn, whatever. That was it. So a couple of days before my appointment, I had actually had another weird thing happen. Had this weird, like, really sticky, mucusy discharge. It looked like a booger, like a really big booger. And so, of course, I was Googling my little heart out, like, what is this? What's happening? And sometimes Google's my best friend. Sometimes it's my worst nightmare. So I know everybody can probably relate with that. But anyways, so it was like, it might be your mucus plug, which, just if anybody's wondering if this is your first pregnancy, you have a mucus plug that's up there that's keeping everything nice and clean and sterile inside where the baby is. And when you lose your mucus plug, that usually means, like, baby's coming. Sometimes it can regenerate, which, you know, is probably why nobody was worried about mine. But anyway, so I took a picture of it because, of course, I took a picture of it. And my appointment was just a couple of days later. So I wasn't, like, too freaked out about it because I was like, oh, I'll just mention it, whatever. And so I get to my appointment, and I tell the nurse, hey, like, I had this weird discharge. Like, I have a picture of it. Here's the picture. And she just kind of dismissed it and was like, oh, that's just normal discharge. Like, it wasn't even, like, it could be your mucus plug. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, that's normal. So I was like, okay, great. Like, didn't have anything to worry about. And so, looking back, I wish that I would have kind of advocated for myself a little bit more, because I'm like 99% sure that was my mucus plug. Like, I'm sure that my cervix was opening at that point, which is a bad sign when you're only 6-7 months pregnant. So I wish that I would have, you know, done a little bit more to kind of push. And I mean, ladies, it takes a couple minutes to check, you know, so it wasn't like it was going to take that much time. Like, you glove up, whatever, like, it's not that big of a deal. So just a little life lesson. I mean, especially if you're pregnant, like, please, please, please advocate for yourself. If you think that something is wrong, like, don't let somebody push you around and just tell you, oh, it's no big deal. Like, I wish that I would have, because my story might have ended up a little bit different. So this was on December 7th, so just keep note of the dates. Fast forward to January 15th. So in between there, we had my baby shower. We flew to Colorado, flew back. Everything was fine. Good, dandy, awesome baby shower. Like, it was amazing. So then we fast forward to January 15th. So it was a Sunday. And so Tanner and I had planned to run errands that day. I woke up not feeling so good. So I told Tanner, you go run the errands. I'm just going to stay home and just kind of relax and do whatever. So, excuse me. So this was about 10 in the morning. I started feeling what I thought were Braxton Hicks contractions. So I was doing everything the internet told me to do to try to stop those. So it was like to eat something, lay on your left side, take a warm bath, drink water. Like, I was doing all of these things. Like, I wasn't doing much. I wasn't like up running around or anything. I was being very lazy that day, but I was just like, okay, something's happening. I don't want to like make anything worse. So nothing was working to help. Like, they just kept getting closer together, more intense, all of that good stuff. And so about 3:30ish, I called Tanner, who's at Costco. ordering a pizza. He's so sweet because he didn't want me to make dinner that night because I wasn't feeling too good. So I call him and I tell him that we need to go to the hospital. So he gets here about 4. We drive to the hospital, and all while he's driving, I'm telling him like when the contractions are starting, when they're ending, and they're like less than 2 minutes apart by this time. Yikes. So then, excuse me, we get to the hospital, and just a little sidebar here, we actually were at the same hospital the day before, literally the day before on Saturday, taking a, sorry, I need some water, a birthing class. So, you know, kind of weird, but anyways, the instructor was great, like nothing on her, like she was just telling us what she knew and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that she told us was like, you know, like most of the time when you're feeling something, like it's usually going to be Braxton Hicks contractions and they're going to send you back home. So that is why I was kind of trying to tough it out at home and not doing anything, because I just thought it was, oh, Braxton Hicks, no big deal. So don't worry, I got some water, so I'm not just coughing through this entire video, sorry. Anyways, so we get to the hospital, and they bring me to the triage room. Very simple, like just, you know, go in, you say, hey, I think I'm in labor, I'm like 7 months along. They're like, okay, great, we'll just check you out, whatever. So I get into my gown, the nurse comes in, she checks me, and then I turned out to be 5 centimeters dilated, so not great when you're 7 months pregnant. Like, if you're at like 9 months pregnant, you're like, yes, let's go, like, woo. But like, I was just in shock, and I was like, okay, things are happening. So things went from 0 to 100, like, so quick. I can't even explain the emotions that I was going through. Like, it was insane. Sorry, all the emotions are kind of coming back, and it's just like I get choked up a little bit, but I mean, it's fine. So anyways, all of a sudden, like, I have this IV sticking in my arm. I'm getting magnesium, which is supposed to slow down labor or even stop it. So that's going on. Also, I'm just getting shot up with steroids to help the baby's lungs develop. And so what we were hoping for was that I would be able to get 2 of those shots. So they had to be 12 hours apart. So the first steroid shot happened about 5 something, and so then we were trying to wait until 5 something again, like 12 hours later, because the 2 steroid shots really helped the lungs develop. So I had only had 1 of those steroid shots. So I get admitted, emotions running crazy, like Tanner's calling everybody like, hey, by the way, Jessica's in labor. And everybody was like, is this a joke, or like, are you serious? Like, what's going on? And so terrible. And so then we just another sidebar, because mine and Tanner's timing is perfect. So he was actually supposed to leave on a business trip the next day to a little tiny city that has like 1 airport, like only a few flights going in and out each day. And he was literally supposed to leave that next day. So, I mean, I would say it was good timing, because I wasn't here by myself. Like, I couldn't imagine driving to the hospital while having contractions. Like, I probably would have had to call an ambulance at that point, but I'm just thankful that he was here. Yeah, so good timing, bad timing, I don't know, whatever you think. And so, anyways, back on my story. The contractions kept coming, so I was waiting to get the epidural because I wanted to be able to get up and walk around while we were waiting for hopefully that second steroid shot, but that unfortunately didn't come. So I waited, I don't know, a couple hours without the epidural, but contractions were just progressing. I was still dilating, like all of the things, and so I was like, okay, give me the epidural, and then yeah, about a half an hour later, I was pushing and I was just praying that everything was going to be okay. While I was pushing, I was asking the doctor, like, how big is she going to be? Like, what are we expecting here? And she was like, oh, we're expecting her to be probably like 2 pounds, like somewhere in the twos. And I was like, again, emotions, just like, oh my God, I'm going to have a 2-pound baby that I can like barely hold in my hands. So anyways, yeah, so they paged the Nicu, and at 9:31, she was born. Yeah, so she was crying, which gave me like such a sense of relief, and she was 4 pounds 3 ounces, so amazing. And I even got to do some skin to skin with her, and yeah, so that was my pregnancy journey up until she was born. I'll make some more videos about kind of what I learned in the NICU. I'm sorry that I'm emotional, but you know, it's a lot to deal with, and just becoming a mom was not that's not how I planned it to be, but you know, it's all in God's hands, and that's my story. And yeah, stay tuned for the things that I learned in the NICU, which I think is very helpful, and even to parents that don't have babies in the NICU, I still think I learned a lot of good stuff there, so hang tight.